Good morning students. Welcome back to my video. I'm Ms. Rukmanisha, your biology teacher. In today's video section, we will be seeing the last topic of chapter 21, that is neural control and coordination, where we'll be seeing human brain. Okay, so we will try to understand the structure of human brain and its function. Now, as you have seen in the previous video section where we have discussed about the neuron parts and the how the synaptic transmission takes place and how the generation and the neural nerve impulse are conducted. Okay, those things we have seen already, and I have shared with you the animated video of the transmission of the nerve impulse. Okay, so till now we have completed all the portions of this chapter except this topic. So we will be learning in today's video the structure of the human brain, which you can see here, which I have drawn here. Now the blue color part of this human brain is known as the forebrain, okay, and the green color part is the midbrain, and the red color part is the hindbrain. Now from here you understand that human brains are divided into three major parts, okay, forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Now where this human brain is located? It is located inside our skull, at the topmost portion of our body, that is the head. This head is composed of the skull, which is the skeletal part of our body, and inside this skull there are three layers right below the skull, right below the bone. There are three layers, protective layers, okay. The protective layer made up of some tissues which is known as cranial manings, okay, three layers of cranial manings. The outermost layer is known as dura mater. The middle part of the layer is known as arachnoid, and the innermost layer, which is attached with the brain, okay, the innermost part is known as pia mater, okay. So pia mater is attached with the brain tissue, all right, and the outermost part which is attached with the near the skull is the dura mater, all right. So our between brain and the skull there are three protective layers. So these three layers are meant for protecting the brain from any kind of shock which our brain may experience while it can be during our day, in any daily activities, okay. You might fall down from the bed, or you might struck your head on the wall, okay, accidentally. You may fall down from the stairs. So you must have experienced so many falls, but you did not get any kind of injuries on your head. Why we don't get any kind of major injury due to the regular falls? It is because of the protective three layers which regularly protects our brain from any kind of harm, okay. But if it is a major injury like the car accident, where these three layers, a car accident or any kind of major accidents, okay, major injuries, if a person falls down from a building, then these three layers will not protect the brain, okay. If a person experiences is struck by a truck or any high speeding bike or a vehicle, that person will not be protected by these three layers of the cranial manings to protect the brain, okay. So brain is a very important part of our body, so that's why it is known as the command and control system, okay. Human brain is known as the command and the control system, and it plays a vital role. As you know that our entire body is controlled by this brain. So if I mention all the function of our body, it includes under the function of the brain, from maintaining the body's temperature to coordinating with the excretion process, digestion process, or all the hormonal activities, development of the bodies and the posture of the body, and the speech, what we talk, what we think, everything is coordinated, everything is controlled by human brain, okay. So we cannot just remain limited to one or two functions. There are almost the entire function of our body is controlled by our brain. That means it includes all the voluntary action and involuntary actions also, okay. Involuntary actions means the internal vital organs such as heart, kidney and lungs. They are this kind of vital organs. It runs on involuntary actions. It runs on the involuntary action. They do their movement and activity by themselves, okay. So that is also controlled by brain. And the voluntary actions such as the movement of our muscles and the thinking process and all the voluntary actions are done by the brain. So it includes all the activities, okay, of our body. So let us proceed to the structure first. As we have discussed, the outermost structure, the bony box which is present in our head, that is known as skull, and inside there are 3 layers, and a pia mater gets attached with the brain. And you know that I have labeled here already. The blue color part is the forebrain, green color is midbrain, and the red color is hindbrain. Alright. Now coming to the parts here, we will start with the forebrain. Okay, so forebrain is composed of 3 parts: cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Okay, so this blue color parts where I have labeled it, this part is thalamus, this part right below the thalamus is the hypothalamus, and this entire part, this is forebrain, cerebrum. Okay, and our brain, the cerebrum, is divided into 2 parts. Our cerebrum is divided into 2 parts, left hemisphere and right hemisphere. Okay, our brain is divided into right hemisphere and left hemisphere, and this right hemisphere and left hemisphere, they are again they coordinate with each other by the help of corpus callosum. So what is this corpus callosum? Corpus callosum is a tract of nerve fibers. Okay, this corpus callosum is a tract of nerve fiber. It connects the left hemisphere from the right hemisphere. Okay, it connects the left hemisphere and right hemisphere. So what is this left hemisphere and right hemisphere? It is the cerebrum. Okay, cerebrum is the biggest part of the human brain. Okay, and it occupies the major part of our brain. You can see here the blue color part is the major part, which is occupying the most portion of our brain. So they are divided into 2 parts, left and right. And this left portion and right portion of our brain is coordinated through corpus callosum. So corpus callosum is a depression or a cleft between the right and left hemisphere of the brain. Okay. Next, now this cerebrum part, it appears to be grey in color. So that is why I have labeled here it as a grey matter. The upper part of the brain, the visible part of the brain, okay, it appears to be grey in color due to the high concentration of the neurons. Okay, the concentration of the neuron bodies are high in the upper part of the cerebrum, which is also known as cerebral cortex, the upper part, the visible part. Okay, the visible part, which is also known as cerebral cortex. So this cerebral cortex appears to be grey in color because of the high concentration of the neuron. Then comes the white matter. White matter is the portion which is the inside portion of our brain. Okay, just below the cerebral cortex, the inside portion of our brain, which contains, which are made up of the inner portion of the brain. Let me just refer with the black color, the inner portion which we can't see. When you open the skull, you will see the outermost portion of the brain, which will appear to be grey in color. But yes, if you make a section, if you cut the brain and then you open it, okay, you cut and see the section, inside portion appears to be white in color. Okay, so which we call it as white matter. And this white matter, why do we call? Because it is made up of neurons, myelinated neurons. Okay, this white matter, grey matter is the cerebral cortex, this white matter is the myelinated neurons. Now what are these myelinated neurons? If we can recall the structure of the neuron has a myelin sheet around the axon. So some neurons which don't have myelin sheet around it, it is known as non-myelinated neurons. And the neurons around the axon, when the myelinated sheets are present, then it is myelinated neuron. So having myelin sheet around the neuron makes the inner part of the brain as white in color. Okay, so our brain is basically made up of neurons. Okay, the structural unit is a neuron. Okay, so the upper portion, if you are talking about the cerebral cortex, the upper portion, it has sensory neuron and motor neuron. If you can recall, sensory neuron brings the information, it brings the signal, and motor neuron, it after processing the information, the brain sends the information to the motor neurons. Okay, so cerebral cortex has a sensory neuron area and motor neuron area. Okay, and between them there is between the sensory neuron and the motor neuron, there is an area which is called an association area. Okay, and this association area, it interconnect the motor neuron and sensory neuron, and which helps in communication. Okay, it interconnect the sensory neuron area and the motor neuron area, the association area. So this association area, motor area and sensory area, they are present around the cerebral cortex. Right? Motor areas, sensory area and association area. So these three areas together, they do the communication. After processing. So mainly the cerebral part of the forebrain is for processing and communicating the information which comes to the brain. Okay. Next is the thalamus. Now thalamus, it lies just below the cerebrum. Okay, this portion just below. If you open the skull, you won't be able to see the thalamus or the hypothalamus. When you do the section, when you cut the brain, then you see inside it is located. So that is also a part of forebrain. So what thalamus, what is their function? Thalamus is a coordinating center for the sensory and the motor neurons. Okay, coordinating center. So what information should come to the brain through the sensory neuron? What information should go from the brain to motor neurons? That coordinating center is present in the thalamus. Okay. Next is hypothalamus, which lies just below the thalamus. Okay. So this thalamus is also, what are their function? They have numerous centers. Okay. They control the body temperature, and they are also responsible for bringing in our body the urge of eating and drinking. Okay, so the feeling of hunger and the feeling of thirst, okay, being thirsty, and when you feel the urge of drinking, so that feeling is generated by hypothalamus. The urge of eating and drinking, and also the control of body temperature. And also hypothalamus plays a vital role in controlling the secretory, in controlling of secreting hormones. Okay, so hypothalamus mainly secretes hypothalamic hormones, and that hypothalamic hormone is secreted to the body, and it stimulates the other endocrine glands like thyroid gland and adrenal gland, ovary, testes. All these are endocrine glands, and it stimulates those glands to secrete hormone. Okay, that is the role of hypothalamus. Now coming to the other part of the forebrain. Now somewhere here it is not exactly we can't locate this two part, which is called amygdala and hippocampus. Okay, so there is a part in our forebrain which the location is not that clear, but yes, there is this part which we call amygdala and hippocampus, which is responsible. Together they are this complex body, amygdala and hippocampus. Amygdala and hippocampus their location is not that discrete in this forebrain, okay, but together they form a complex which we call limbic complex. Limbic complex or limbic system or limbic lobe. Okay, this is the this two complex structures known as limbic system. Limbic system. So there is the function of this limbic system, but we know what role they play in our body. They are responsible for coordinating and regulating our sexual behavior and emotional behavior. So the behavior what we show emotionally, like what kind of emotions we generally show to people, like the anger and happiness and feeling sad and showing the emotions such as pleasure and rage. All these are controlled by this limbic system. So limbic system includes amygdala, hippocampus, so which their location is not that discrete in the forebrain, but yes, they are located within this forebrain only. Okay, and also they show the sexual behavior. Okay, the urge of the sexual behavior is shown by the limbic system. Now coming to the midbrain. Now the green color part which you see is the midbrain, okay, which is located, the location if you want to discrete, midbrain is located between the hypothalamus and pons. Okay, this is the hypothalamus, this part is the hypothalamus. So between hypothalamus and pons, midbrain is located. Okay, and through the middle portion of the midbrain, you can see there is a canal which is passing through it. There is a canal, this passage. Let me draw a dot here, so you can locate it. This canal is known as cerebral aqueduct. Okay, and through this cerebral aqueduct, liquid flows. That liquid is known as cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, through this a liquid flows to the ventricles here. Here there is a cavity. This is thalamus. Below this is hypothalamus. After that, if you see this structure, it has a cavity which we call ventricle. Okay, here also there is a cavity, fourth ventricle we say, and this is the third ventricle. So these ventricles are filled with this liquid through this cerebral aqueduct. Okay, so this cerebral aqueduct, it flows the cerebrospinal fluid inside this ventricle. That is its role. And then the other part of the midbrain is this. These two are the part of the midbrain, okay, which are labeled in green color. The corpora quadrigemina. Corpora quadrigemina. Here you can see the swollen part which I have drawn here. This there are like this 4 lobes are present. Okay, 4 lobes are present. Lobular part in the midbrain. So this lobular part is known as corpora quadrigemina, and their function is to control the position of head and eyes while we are coordinating with our surrounding. Okay, when we are coordinating with our surrounding, our head position and eyes position. See, when you are turning your head, your eye immediately takes up a position to look or to have a look to an object around it or the people around it. Okay, so when you turn our head, so that position of the head and the position of the eye, that coordination is done by this part of our midbrain, corpora quadrigemina. Okay, which is a lobular structure present in the midbrain. Alright, so that is the midbrain portion. And coming to the hindbrain, the red portion which are labeled as pons, medulla oblongata and cerebellum, these are the hindbrain, part of the hindbrain. Now pons contains lots of fibril tracts which connects with the rest of the brain. Okay, this pons interconnects with the rest of the brain through the fibrous tract present in it. Okay, and cerebrum is the largest part of this hindbrain, where the number of neurons are more comparing to the other part of the hindbrain. Okay, and the medulla oblongata, it also it makes a connection with the spinal cord. Now remember, brain is connected with the spinal cord down here. Okay, so this medulla oblongata, this part makes a connection with the spinal cord. Okay, this medulla oblongata, it makes the connection with the spinal cord, and pons makes the connection with the rest of the brain, and cerebrum makes the space for lots of neurons. Now, what is their function especially? Medulla's function is to control respiration, cardiovascular reflexes, and gastric secretion. Now, this function which I am telling, this all functions are mentioned in the book. Okay, what you can do is you can just make a table and make a table of 3 columns. Okay, forebrain, midbrain, or hindbrain, or make a column of 4, where first column you mention the parts of the brain, second column the location, and third column is the function. That you can do. Okay, so with 3 columns like this you can and by seeing the textbook and by repeating or revising this video, you can mention their function. Okay, so the function of this medulla oblongata is to control the respiration and cardiovascular activity and gastric secretion. Okay, and all these parts of the human brain helps in controlling and commanding all the body's activity which takes place in our body. Okay, and first, when you study human brain, first you need to study, you should be clear with the structure and then coming to the function. Okay, so first make a table where you mention the structure, the first column to be the parts, like make a 3 column, the parts of the brain. Okay, forebrain, where these are the parts: cerebrum, thalamus, hypothalamus. Then location, if you can mention the location where they are located, and then here the function, what cerebrum does, what thalamus, hypothalamus. Then comes the midbrain. So midbrain has 2 parts. Okay, aqueduct and quadrigemina. So what specifically they do? Aqueduct flows the CSF, cerebrospinal fluid, and quadrigemina, it helps in controlling the position of the head and eyes. Okay, then comes the hindbrain. Like that you can make the table. So in that way, make the diagram and table. That's it. If you see the diagram, label the diagram, and then you see this table, this topic is over for you. Okay, it will be easy for you to understand. Alright, thank you so much for going through this video, and if you have any doubt, please let me know. I'm always available in the WhatsApp group. Thank you and have a good day ahead.